Have you ever shocked a landlord by knowing your tenant rights better than they do? Renting in New Zealand has a reputation. Anyone who's ever lived in Wellington knows how brutal it can be. Freezing houses, moldy walls, and rent so high you start wondering if the draft in the living room is charged separately. I'd spent most of my 20s bouncing between terrible flats, learning that a charming character home usually meant rotting floorboards and a leaky roof. So when my partner and I found a tidy little house in Berhampore, it felt like a miracle. It had sunlight, a small garden, and it didn't smell like damp socks. Even better, it was reasonably priced. Not cheap, but fair by Wellington standards. Before we moved in, I took about 200 photos of every inch of the place. Years of renting had taught me that photos are a tenant's best friend when it comes time to leave. For the next 18 months, things were great. The property manager, I'll call her Denise, was surprisingly pleasant to deal with. She handled maintenance requests, sorted out some old rubbish under the house left by previous tenants, and even approved our internet installation without fuss. We paid rent on time, looked after the place, and never caused trouble. For once, I thought maybe renting in this city didn't have to be a constant battle. Then I got an email that changed everything. It was from a brewery in the United States offering me a job I'd been chasing for years. The catch? I'd have to move in 4 months. That meant breaking our lease early. I emailed Denise right away, explaining the situation and asking if we could work something out. She responded almost immediately, full of cheerful emojis. No problem at all. Let's meet and sort it out. Those cheerful emojis should have been my warning. Before the meeting, I decided to do some homework. I went through her company's website and found a line buried deep in their policy. If a tenant ends their lease early, they have to pay a $750 reletting fee for advertising and administrative costs. I almost laughed. Wellington's rental market moves faster than a fire sale. Houses are rented within days, sometimes hours, and listing them costs next to nothing. That $750 was pure profit. When I sat down in her office, I was polite but cautious. I told her we'd leave the house spotless and even offered $200 to help with relisting expenses. She smiled that fake customer service smile and slid a printed sheet across the table. Unfortunately, she said, company policy requires a $750 early termination fee. I stayed calm. That seems excessive, I said. It can't possibly cost that much to relist. She shrugged. That's what everyone else pays. The last tenants did too. I told her that didn't make it fair and that we'd already offered more than enough. She leaned back, crossed her arms, and said the sentence that changed everything. If you're not happy with it, you're welcome to contact the tenancy tribunal. Her tone made it sound like she'd said those exact words 100 times and no one had ever followed through. I smiled. All right, I said, I think I will. That night, I sat down at my laptop, opened the tenancy tribunal website, and filed a complaint. It took 10 minutes. I attached the lease, screenshots of the policy, and a summary of our conversation. The next morning, the tribunal emailed me confirming they'd accepted the case and had already reached out to her company. Not even 24 hours later, my inbox pinged again. This time, it was Denise. Her tone had flipped entirely. Hi, she wrote. After discussing with the property owner, we've decided to waive the early termination fee if you agree to withdraw your complaint. The owner is disappointed, but as long as the property is left in good condition, we can consider the matter closed. I didn't even bother responding. The tribunal already had everything in writing. It was over. When we moved out, we cleaned that house like we were staging it for sale, scrubbed walls, spotless oven, even wiped down the baseboards. On inspection day, Denise arrived, clipboard in hand, barely able to look me in the eye. She walked through the place in silence, then said quietly, everything looks fine. You'll get your full bond back. A month later, I was in town grabbing coffee when I saw her across the street. I gave a polite smile and small wave. She immediately turned away and pretended to check her phone like it held the secrets of the universe. I almost laughed. She'd told me to go to the tribunal, thinking it was just a line to shut me up. But when I actually did it, her entire tune changed overnight. Sometimes the easiest way to deal with people who rely on intimidation is to simply do exactly what they tell you to do, word for word.